Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of Gate 7 International. I will be your host for tonight, Kostas Llanos, or Kostas with a K, as I am starting to be known in this podcast. And I'm joined by none other than everyone's favorite stat man, Aris Bouloubasis. Ari, how are you tonight?
Uh, Costa, I've definitely seen better days in my life. First, I want to thank actually everybody in the community that reached out to me this morning. There were some people that were met. I woke up to a whole slew of messages asking if I was okay. I didn't even know what happened yet. For those of you that maybe don't know, the third largest cable bridge in the world collapsed today in Baltimore, where I'm from. It's a bridge I've used periodically, that my employees use also periodically as well. A very devastating event. Vessel crashed into the bridge and took the whole thing down. There's going to be impacts in the short term, at least some that I'm already dealing with. My family has a shipping company based out of Baltimore. We had a container that was on that ship as well. So we're just dealing with all the fallout. But thank you guys so much for checking in, making sure I was okay. That really felt wonderful to know that everybody cared. So thank you guys for checking in, and our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody that was there. There were about 20 cars and a trailer that fell into the water. I don't know the casualty count yet. They said it's a mass casualty event. They saved a few people. There's still about half a dozen people unaccounted for and missing. So our thoughts and prayers are with them and the families. But yeah, Costa, that's it. And thank you guys for your concern and your well wishes.
Well, absolutely. The Greek and the Olympiacos community that has been created from this podcast would make it impossible not to have us all checking in on you after this devastating event. And as you said, all of our thoughts and prayers go to everyone who has been affected by this tragic event. Uh, Tonight, as a podcast, we do deal with football, everything Olympiacos, and everything Ethniki, which is a few of the things that we're going to unpack on tonight's episode. Before we get to the nitty gritty of everything, if you haven't done so, please do like and subscribe. It doesn't take a second. Please do like and subscribe and hit that notification bell down there. We keep growing as a podcast and creating a mass international community. We have followers from every single continent in the world, bar Antarctica. We're closing in on 7,000 followers on Instagram, 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. And it's an absolute honor to have every single one of you. And please do join us and support us on Patreon, where you can join us for as little as $1 a month. We will be sharing some exclusive content outside of the premises of the usual podcast. We have some exciting guests coming over to this show, which I am not privy to share full details of our next guest, but you definitely know him. He is a Greek title winner. He is a Champions League player, a Europa League player, very recent star of Olympiacos. I don't think I think that's pretty much all I can say right now. And we are working on some other exciting quotes, exciting interviews as well. So watch that space and join us on Patreon, where you're going to be getting all of the exclusive material. And one of the best features, you get to join us on WhatsApp, a group that has taken its life of its own. You're going to be able to associate with other patrons and even talk to us. And the best part about the WhatsApp group, in my opinion, is that this is the only place where we can tell you what we cannot say on camera. So please do join us, guys. We're going to be more than happy to have you over. So the story of the night is that, well, Greece only had one job to do. They were facing a team that was definitely not easy in Georgia, away in Tbilisi. Greece had the golden opportunity of making it to the finals of a major tournament for the first time in 10 years, Euro 2024. And, well, it didn't happen. Greece put together, in my opinion, a poor performance that led to a goalless draw in a match that saw Georgia's best player, Khvica Kvaratskhelia, hobbling off with an injury towards the dying minutes of the second half of extra time. And then we got on penalties where Georgia won 4-2. Ari, your thoughts?
Well, I think Poyet's decisions and his stubbornness finally bit him in the ass, Costa. That's what this was. Poyet's decisions, his stubbornness finally came and bit him in the ass. The players that we were concerned about did exactly the things that we were concerned about in this game today. And when we talked about ahead of the Kazakhstan match, there were three players in particular we talked about. Actually, four. The first one was Madalos, which I guess we can't really. He's a normal mainstay in Poyet's team, so maybe we don't really get to talk about that. Gorbelis is another one. Hadzidiakos is another one. Pelkas was another one. These were starters. Now, we won 5-0 against Kazakhstan, and looking at it now compared to today's match, I can say that maybe the issue with the Kazakhstan match was we overestimated Kazakhstan's ability. We didn't necessarily underestimate what those players brought. We came and we fought a half-decent team in Georgia, not an amazing team, but a half-decent team with one world-class star on it. And we saw what those players have to offer. The Greek announcers today, the way they talked, you would have thought Gorbelis was N'Golo Kante. I thought he was terrible. I can only think of one ball he won in the midfield. I can't think. He struggled. There were so many holes between him, Madalos, and Bakasetas. Our midfield was Swiss cheese. I had said from the beginning, Siopis needs to be playing and starting in this match. Look what happened when we brought Siopis on. Not by Poyet's choice, by the way, but because Gorbelis was nursing an injury. Gorbelis was hurt and needed to come off. Gorbelis comes off, Siopis comes on, and man, things became much more stable. That was just one piece of the pie. There were just so many issues from build up, and we do have to say, Costa, that the pitch itself was wet. People were falling everywhere, but Poyet wasn't. He didn't. I don't understand how his reading of the game was. Where the first half was just garbage. It was really bad. Nothing. We weren't creating anything. To be fair, neither really was Georgia. There was two shots total, I think, almost that whole first half. Very cagey. But we go into the second half. The core problem is the midfield. And our midfield's we're getting blown through the midfield. There's bad space, bad shapes. Bakasetas is forced to come so deep. He can only get the ball built up back when Masouras is tracking back to give him an option because neither of his midfielders are helping. Madalos was doing exactly what I expected Madalos to do, which was be completely ineffective. My main issue here was the midfield had problems. So you needed to bring somebody that would do better for you in the midfield. In that case, it was Siopis. What were the changes he makes at halftime? Nothing. No, guys, keep going. And you know what? Maybe to his credit, we had a couple more shots, even if they weren't really anything to them. But we did have a couple. But he didn't, even when he made his first substitutions, he didn't address the core problem. He had to sub out George Baldock because he was hurt, and he brings in Lazaros Rota. Saliakas wasn't an option because he was omitted from the lineup. Then when he makes a second sub, he brings on Cosadelias, which I'm not complaining about that sub. He brings on Cosadelias for Pelkas. That's a fine sub in my opinion, but it didn't address the core issue. Cosadelias was playing on the wing. We were still having the same problem in the midfield. Now, I don't know why he's so allergic to making some of these midfield changes. But when you are getting slammed up through the midfield by a team like Georgia, who has some quality players, especially in Kvaratskhelia, you need to make an adjustment. And he didn't. He didn't until he was forced to. And then, we saw what happened the rest of the game. And it's games like today when you look at a decision to omit a player like Thrylos Tzolis, who's in amazing form, playing in second division in the Bundesliga. And you look at that, and then you say, well, what was the sense in keeping somebody like him? Why didn't you bring him into the team? This is a player that could have offered you something off the bench. the midfield was looking bad, and people like to crap on Bukhalakis. I mean, we do the same. We've done the same in the past once in a while. But Bukhalakis came on, he took his penalty. Look, I mean, like that, right? I mean, could he have been worse than Korbelis today or even Madalos? No. Is there a player on this Greek national team that can distribute the ball like Jan Vila used to do for us back in the day? No. Bukhalakis is closer to that. Everyone, trust me, I know all the adages about Bukhalakis. Would he have been worse than what we saw from Korbelis or Madalos today? Probably not. But I've said it 100 times, Costa. Poyet will live and die by his decisions. And he was getting by because we have been playing on a whole just poor competition. And he was beating teams that we normally should be beating. The Georgia team is a better team than what we've played, but we should have beaten them. And finally, the poor decisions caught up with him, and we ate the result of his poor decisions in the end.
I think for a long time, call-ups have been an issue with the Greek national team. Pretty much ever since Michael Skibe left the team. Actually, ever since Angelos Anastasiadis left, because we've been seeing some big names being omitted from the team, being axed from the team. We saw it with Siovas, we saw it with Manolas, we saw it with Papastathopoulos. Then we saw, Fortounis was never officially axed, but he was not. Gus Poyet was never big on Fortounis. Tassos Douvikas, goodbye. Christos Zolis right now. And I think the most recent omission, I'm not going to call it an axe, the recent omission is Vangelis Pavlidis, who used to start pretty much every game. And now, as the Eredivisie leading goal scorer, he is the leading goal scorer right now. He's on the bench. And you would imagine that in this kind of game, such an important game, the biggest game for Greece in 10 years, we would see Pavlidis coming on because we needed a goal, because we couldn't create anything. We couldn't test the Georgian goalkeeper at all. You would imagine we would need him. And there was nothing, and we didn't see him. Yakumakis is a really good player, but playing in the MLS versus being the leading goal scorer at the Eredivisie, in general, like I said, Ari, ever since Anastasiadis left, a lot of call-ups don't make sense. I mean, look at Yorgos Zavelas, who was red carded tonight during a scuffle at the end of the first half between
Clown. He's a clown. He should not be on this national team. Clown. It's a shame. Dropi. It's a shame that he's on this national team. I don't care about his locker room presence. Clown.
What is the locker room presence? Have you heard anything about him doing or saying anything that helps the players gaining motivation? Have we heard anything? Any stories?
I don't know. I mean, it clearly it didn't work, Costa, because we still have the mentality of losers. We still have the mentality that we don't believe we should be in a final, in a Euro 2024. We have a clown like Yorgos Savela still in the locker room. Absolute clown. Dropi that he is there. Should never be on this national team. I thought he retired. I thought that he retired from the national team. Am I going nuts, Costa? Didn't he retire?
I'm struggling to remember him saying he retired, but I do remember him being called up when he was a free agent. So he is wanted. He is needed by someone within the team. Like I said, Ari, I've said it before on this podcast. I grew up with Otto Rehagel having stern standards as to who gets called up into the Ethniki. And he would only call up players from Greek clubs who are playing in Europe. We didn't see a lot of PAOK players, not because he was against PAOK, but just because PAOK didn't really play in the Champions League at that time. And players who played in top leagues around the world. I remember Yannis Topalidis suggested Vasilis Torosidis when he was still with Skoda Xanthi, and Rehagel turned him down. No player was ever let down by Otto Rehagel except for Ieroklis Stoltidis. No one else had ever been let down by Otto Rehagel. Whereas now, not only are we seeing players being called up that are not exactly setting the world alight, not only are they not setting the world alight, they don't play in Europe at all. We see players who do well abroad, who do well in challenging leagues like Tassos Douvikas, like Kostas Fortounis, like Vangelis Pavlidis right now, not playing for the Greek national team. It is baffling. It creates a lot of questions. We saw that with John Van Schip. We saw that with we're seeing that with Gus Poyet right now. I don't understand the call-ups anymore. I really don't get those call-ups anymore at all, personally. Uh, is there any point in discussing everything that we saw with Kostas Fortounis? Any point?
Costa, it's sometimes it's not even just before we go on, because we could go, honestly, we could talk an hour about the stuff that went on with Kostas Fortounis. There's a lot to say about that, but like there are some issues in terms of call-ups that make sense and that don't make sense. Now, the Pavlidis issue is actually a little bit different on the spectrum, right? Because we saw a whole lot of Vangelis Pavlidis, not just under Poyet, but under JVS as well. I mean, we saw so much of Pavlidis and how he doesn't really work under this national team and the system that we play. That's actually one, seeing Pavlidis not start actually is not one I can really get upset up with Poyet about. Maybe we could have used him as a sub, but for the national team, Pavlidis has not served a good purpose. We've talked about this in the group chat about how he's used at AZ, right? We've talked about how he's got players moving around him. He can operate freely, sometimes as a second striker, and that's where he really excels. I mean, look at under JVS, Pavlidis, when he was playing behind the striker in a friendly, he looked amazing for the national team. I think he was playing behind Yakumakis, and I remember him looking really good. And I was wondering, I was like, man, we should try that. JVS did very interesting experiments in the friendlies. Never did anything interesting in qualification or in official matches, but in the friendlies, he always had very interesting experiments. And that was one thing that always stuck with me. Pavlidis, why don't we give him a shot playing behind the striker or as a second striker? But he's never been effective for the Greek national team. So his exclusion, I'm not so concerned about. But you're absolutely right, Costa. And this is when you fail like this, because this in the end, failing to qualify for a tournament is a failure. Did Poyet win the Nations League? Yes, he did. Is that an improvement over what we've seen in the last like 8-9 years, maybe bar Skibby? Yeah, it is. But he did not get past where Skibby got. Skibby got to a qualifier playoff too. We lost to the runners-up of the Euros, Croatia. Poyet
After
failed.
we were eliminated in the group stages by the third best team in the world at the time.
That's right. That's right. So we failed. This is a failure. Again, Poyet failed. And the reason for his failure, now that he has failed, is some of these oddball decisions that he made. The decision to ice out players, you already mentioned Douvikas, but to ice out some of your best players, Kostas Fortounis, Douvikas, and players like Thrylos Solis, who's been doing so well in, sure, it's second division Bundesliga, but you had no problem calling up Bouchalakis, who's playing in second division Bundesliga. You know what I mean? So every coach has their guys. We know that this is national team football, but in the end, this is what hangs you. And Poyet hung himself. He hung himself. He's lucky that he hasn't gotten any worse results before. We're lucky that we've played really poor competition, but we've seen under Poyet, when you play good competition, this Greece didn't look good. And even if we did make the final tournament, I even said it in the group chat, I was worried about what we would see because when it comes to these games, these games that require a little bit more deception, maybe, or a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for, Costa? Thinking on your feet, a little bit more tactical awareness. Poyet doesn't adjust. He stays very stubborn, and it works sometimes. But you get to the big stage here, and it didn't work. You put your eggs, Costa, in a basket, and the basket is Bakasetas, Madalos, Gorbelis, Belkas, Hadzidiakos, those players. You had other options available to you, but you put your eggs in that basket. They failed you. You had other options that you could have trusted, but you stuck with your guys, and you hung yourself with it. That's it. It's unfortunate. And at the same time, Costa, the fans of the Greek national team need a little bit of a reality check too, because what is Greece? What is Greek football these days?
What has Greece always been?
Right. Have we ever been there was a CIES Football Observatory piece of data that was posted like 2 days ago showing the number of players in starting 11s by nationality. Do you know who the lowest represented countries in starting 11s across Europe are by nationality? Cyprus is the least represented, and then Greece is the second least. This is the level of Greek football. That's just how it is. It's unfortunate, but on one hand, I understand everybody's frustration, but on the other hand, like Greek football is just not where we think it is. It's just not at the level it was in 2004. It's a shame, but this is it. We have a failed generation. There's a failed generation right now that is in the Greek national team, and it's the players that I've mentioned already. It is time to move them on. You keep the real leaders of the team, some of the veterans, and then you start shepherding in the younger talent and see where you go from there. That's all you can do, Costa.
Well, you touched on it, and I would like to say that it's important to always remember that Greece is not like Brazil in the sense that Brazil will create you a Pelé, then it will create you a Romario, then a Ronaldo, then a Neymar. And I feel like a player like Kostas Fortounis, in my opinion, he has been quite underrated. Greece is not a country that creates a lot of attacking players with the creativity, the flair, the vision of Fortounis. And he's not perfect. Yes, he doesn't play defense. Yes, he's not the most motivational player. He's not the captain material. But the fact alone that Greece has had a player like Vasilis Hatzipanagis, who is the best Greek player of all time, the guy that could speak to the ball and never played for the Greek national team. I mean, if Hatzipanagis had played for Greece, we would have played in so many more World Cups, so many more Euros. And now you see Kostas Fortounis, who I don't think he's like Vasia. But what I think is that for some reason, the Greek national team never really appreciated him. It's absolutely ridiculous, the idea alone that this kind of player, this rare player that we're not going to see for a very long time after he retires, and his retirement date is not that far. He's 30 years old. The idea alone that you're icing him out for something as little as not playing defense when he's a number 10 is just absolutely ridiculous and absolutely baffling. And I refuse to believe that this is a tactical decision and there's not more to this story. I mean, Olympiacos fans, anyone out there who doesn't rate Fortounis, especially the Olympiacos players, let me remind you how we looked last season when Fortounis was iced out from the squad. Who stepped up to the plate when Fortounis was out? Pepiel, James Rodriguez, Marcelo. Who stepped up to the plate? And then Fortounis came in during the second half of the season when Mitchell saw sense, and it was like he wasn't away for a day. He absolutely killed it. If Fortounis leaves this summer, which I don't think he is, but if he is leaving this summer, we're going to miss him. Someone's going to have to step up to the plate. Olympiacos are going to need that. Yes, he's not the kind of guy who can give a State of the Union address, even though he'd be much better than Donald Trump. But he's a really good player and a rare gem for Greek football. It's like you said it, Adi. We don't create. It's not like England, who will create you a Bobby Charlton, a Bobby Moore, a Paul Gascoigne, a Gary Lineker, a David Beckham, a Wayne Rooney, a Harry Kane, a Declan Rice, a Jude Bellingham. Those players come once every blue moon. And we're not taking advantage of that. I would like to bring in another Gate 7 International host to give us his 2 cents about tonight's performance. Dimitri Kouimtsidi, welcome to Gate 7 International. Please do give us your opinion about tonight's match, and I'm not talking about England versus Belgium. Dimitri, are you there?
I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi that's just gone or you guys.
It's not us.
Is my Wi-Fi being bad? Okay, it's probably me. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. Just wanted to say quickly before I start, we've got 250 people watching, which is great. Can you please like, subscribe, follow us on social media if you don't, so we can get the word out there and get more Olympiacos fans around the world, Olympiacos fans from every corner of the planet. Now, let's get to it. The game today, my 2 cents. It really hurt. It really hurt. I mentioned it in the Patreon group chat. It really stung the way that it happened. It sort of reminded me of the Costa Rica game at the World Cup 10 years ago, where we really should have killed it off and it never should have gone to penalties. And it's annoying because penalties is one of those things where if you're the team that's grateful to have got to penalties, you might actually win in the end. Lost me. Is my Wi-Fi
You're still
being
there.
shit?
You're still there. You're still there.
I'm still here. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So did you get that? Did you get the bit where I was saying that it gave me the same feeling as Costa Rica?
Costa Rica, yes. It was like Costa Rica, yes.
Yeah. It was like Costa Rica because we were the better team, in my opinion, from the second half onwards. And about after the first 5 minutes of extra time, we were the better team. And I've usually found that if you're the team that wants to get to penalties, because you are the team that's playing worse out of the two, you end up winning as well, which is sort of it's a little bit unfair, but it is what it is, and that's football. So I was disappointed that they didn't push more to win the game in the 90 minutes or in the extra time. And I don't know if it's the team's mentality or if it's Poyet's mentality or whatever it was, but I was disappointed that we didn't push more to win, because the minute it got to penalties, they just looked more fired up than our players did. You saw them celebrating after every penalty. You saw how hyped their keeper was. Our guys were just very, very quiet and calm. And it goes back to that thing that, I don't know if you guys have ever heard Southgate talk about penalties and how they train during training as to how to do them. And every guy once the opposing team shoots, the keeper gets the ball and goes and gives it to his teammate. And they have a chat and basically clears him head. He's not walking down to the penalty spot by himself. Our guys just seemed out of it. Like, had they practiced penalties, had they not? I don't know. The minute it went to penalties, from the first moment, Georgia just looked up for it. Now, outside of the fact that it shouldn't have gone to penalties, that we should have killed it off much sooner than that, because from the second half onwards, we were the better team. We had double the passes they did. We were much more, like, not offensive, but it looked like we wanted the game more, which isn't saying much because we weren't exactly playing like prime Barcelona or anything like that. But you know what I mean? Like, you could tell that we were the team that was sort of chasing it a little bit more. We had the Mavropanos opportunity and then a couple of shots. I mean, apart from the Mavropanos post, there was nothing that you should have gone, oh my God, that should have gone in. Apart from that, it was more of you guys touched upon it a little bit earlier, having those special players. Some players should sort of be moved on. We don't really have, it sounds really bad, but it's not like the basketball team where you have golden players. We don't have that in the football team, in my opinion. We don't have generational talent. Costa, you were talking about Fortounis earlier, who is arguably one of the most skilled Greek players we've seen in a long time. But I think he's past it now. As in past it for the Greek football, for the Greek national team. He won't come back. There's too much stuff that's happened. I can't see him being invited back, no matter how good he is, and his ego will get in the way. And I really wish they could get past it, but I'm worried that it won't happen.
Just clarify something,
because as you said,
he is retired. I understand that Kostas Fortounis is retired, but it's not like he woke up one day and put in his best Danny Glover voice saying, "Oh, I'm too old for this shit," and just retired. I mean, there's more to that story.
No,
and
you're right, 100%.
He said he's never coming back, but there's more to that story.
No, I 100% agree that there's more to that story. And I do think that skill-wise, he is arguably the best, or at least one of the best players we have, probably the best. But I do think that ship has sailed, both for him and for the national team, just like he has with Papastathopoulos. I know I saw someone mention earlier in a comment, just as I was, this one here. That he had he's having a good season at Betis. What's wrong with him? And it's like, unfortunately, no matter what it is, we're one of those nations or that our egos are too big. I can't see him. I can't see Fortounis ever coming back. I can't see any of these players sort of either putting their ego to the side, or whoever the people that are dealing with the squad selections putting their egos to the side and actually allowing them to come back, which is unfortunate.
The same egos that want the
at the same time. The same egos I want Zavelas, who's I'm going to use my favorite word. He's a twat. Like the guy's just not. I don't understand how he's still around them.
No,
clown. I don't understand what
I said
locker
at the
room
time,
presence
clown.
he gives.
Zavelas,
I mean,
if you're listening,
clearly,
you're a clown. Get out of my national team, you clown. Fige, clown. God, on Greek Independence Day, or the day after Greek Independence Day, I have to see this clown.
See, with me is they must know something we don't. There's no, I can't understand how he's still around. It is what it is. So my problem is that it's just a lack of talent, and this game today, it was a lack of drive after a certain bit to kill off the game in added time, in extra time, or in 90 minutes. That's what the problem was. I don't know if you've started talking about performances, individual performances. If you haven't, then I'll wait until we get onto that. But
No,
there's some players that I
ahead.
saw in the group chat and I see here on the comments. People are bashing certain players that I don't think were as bad as others. Like for example, people were talking shit about Mavropanos earlier, and I thought apart from his mistake, the crossfield pass that got intercepted,
which didn't cost us.
I thought he was arguably. Which didn't cost us. I thought he was arguably one of our best players. I thought him and Hanzidiakos in defense were excellent. I thought defensively, massive shout out to Stiopis, who I thought was fucking everywhere when he came on.
Amazing.
He was chasing their best player, the one who plays for Napoli. What's his name?
Kvaratskhelia.
Number 7. That guy. I can't pronounce his name. And it's not like I have an easy surname.
The thing about Kurbelis as well that we failed to mention is that the guy went to Trabzonspor and they got rid of him almost immediately. They regretted that signing almost immediately. And there's somebody who just will not stop playing. He's been established as a starter. And then you have Siopis and Bouchalakis coming in, and they were just immediately better than him. Kurbelis was good in his defensive duties. Good. I didn't say perfect. I said good.
And he had that one skill. He had that one skill.
But then you have Siopis and Bouchalakis coming on, and they are completely better. They brought in more passion, more runs. They shielded midfield much better. We have we have something we have a comment from Yoros Moutzanos that Aris is loving because it's about Zavelas. Zavelas interview for real. Μην τα διαλύσουμε για 2 penalty. Εύχομαι να μείνει ο Poyet. So which says let's not. It's not the end of the world because of 2 penalties. I hope Gus Poyet stays.
How about this? How about this, Costa? Εύχομαι να φύγεις, μαλάκα. Get out of my national team. How about that? Zavelas doing an interview. Get the hell out. I don't care what you have to say.
Didn't he get a red card? Didn't he get a red card?
Yeah, he got a red card for being an idiot. He's an idiot. He should not be anywhere near this national team. If Maniatis can't be anywhere near this national team, this idiot should not be on this national team. If Sokratis Papastathopoulos is not for this national team, Zavelas should not be here. If Siovas can't be on this national team, this idiot shouldn't be there. Εύχομαι να μείνει ο Poyet. What are we talking about here? Get your ass out. So somebody who deserves to be here should be here. We interview this idiot. Unbelievable. Idiot.
Have we actually talked about Poyet yet and people's opinions and if he should stay or not? Because I don't know. I mean, obviously you're angry at Zavelas in general, Ari, but regarding Poyet staying, regarding his interview, I'm going to get crucified for this. I kind of agree with Zavella on this because, I mean, it's not like we're playing, Pep Guardiola, City or Liverpool Klopp's type of football. We're not incredible, don't get me wrong, but I do think that we've slowly, in a Greek national team kind of way, improving. Yes, today was a setback against a lesser opposition and we should have won. And this was the best opportunity we've had in a decade. However, I do believe that Poyet should not leave. And I have a feeling I'm going to get crucified by a lot of people for saying that. But that's my 2 cents when it comes down to that. And I don't know if you were angry at Zavelas in general for talking or you were angry for his quote as well, Ari.
No, it's both. I personally, I couldn't give. I'll be honest. I couldn't give two shits if Poyet stays or not, because while I do recognize the things that Poyet has done, and I feel like I've been a voice of reason about why Poyet is better than like JVS in some respects. But here's what we've seen from Poyet, Dimitri. Right? So Poyet, for the most part, outside of today, has beaten the teams that we should be beating, right? And you know what? We've had our bad losses in the past. I give that to him. But what has Poyet shown us when we have played any team that is our level or better? Not much. And he's very stubborn and he doesn't adjust well. So that's where I'm like, okay, I mean, if he leaves, he leaves. Because to this point, look, the national team game, it's not like club football. It's the results that matter. Results matter. And if I were to believe this was as Yanni Antetokounmpo would say, a step to success, I have to see and witness something being built. But all I saw was a bunch of players that previously underperformed for so long, got it together, beat the teams they should be beating, but still shit the bed on the big stage. And quite frankly, guys, okay, this is Georgia. They have good players. They have one world-class player, but by and large, we have enough talent, even on this roster, the Poyet picked roster, to have done this, and we didn't. He didn't make the changes that should have been made. I don't know what he was doing, making changes over at on the wing, and well, he had to make the choice at fullback, but he didn't address the midfield until he was forced to. So that wasn't a good change. The Baldock change, again, that forced his hand, but he was forced to switch out because Corbelis was injured. He was forced to do that. He wouldn't have switched Siopis in at that time had he not been required to. And that's the problem. That's the problem I have. And he has been getting victories despite what are bad decisions. If we're looking at things objectively, he's been making poor decisions, but he's been winning despite that. And it all finally came home to roost here. So I could care less whether he stays or not. I don't think if he goes, I'm not going to lose any sleep, but if they re-sign him, whatever. I in the end, he failed because that's what this is. The goal was to make it to a final tournament. He did not. He failed, period. That's how I see it. And I didn't see enough. I haven't seen enough to show me that we've played that much more football against better opposition. All we have done is beat the teams we should be beating, which is a feat in and of itself, but isn't enough for us to do what we want to do. And we talked about also like, where is Greek football now? And I very well understand where Greek football is. Greek football, unfortunately, is not it's nothing super special, but we do have enough talent to where we should be. This was probably one of the easiest roads to the Euro we could have had. Have we had an easier road to the Euro?
That's the disappointing thing, Addy. That's the disappointing thing. Because of winning the Nations League group, we're now in a group that we're not going to win because we've got England in our next group. So the World Cup of 2020, what's the next year? 2026, we're out. We're not going to qualify from our group. We're not going to qualify from our Nations League group. So that's another tournament that's out. So now, should we be hoping that we get relegated to League C so that we can win League C for the Euro of 2028? Is that how we should be doing this? That's the disappointing thing, because you're right, Addy. This was the easiest and literally the only opportunity we've had in so long, and the only opportunity we will have in a long time, at least in my opinion.
Unless the World Cup draw turns out to be good for us. Well, we got England in the Nations League, so that's as good as done. Our Nations League hopes of winning the playoff spot from the Nations League is as good as done, unless we show something, which we haven't shown so far.
But no, even if we do,
our only hope is a World Cup draw. The world,
yeah. But the World Cup, our ranking is too far down. Our ranking is too far down. So even if we by miracle get a good group, the group will entail of us finishing third, like it did in the Euros, like it did with France and the Netherlands. Our ranking is so bad that we're going to get drawn against huge opposition again. And again, it goes back to that problem that the Netherlands game, the one that we lost 1-0 at home with a Van Dijk penalty in the last minute, if we had beaten them, we would have qualified. That's literally the only result. If we, instead of losing 1-0, if we had won that game 1-0, we would have qualified instead of the Dutch. Because we got a draw against the French and they didn't. So we would have qualified ahead of them. So, but I don't think that's going to happen in the next World Cup. And then the World Cup qualifiers, the top two, it's not the top two, it's the top one, and then second has a playoff. So
Correct.
there's
Yeah,
So 2026, I'm sorry, guys, but the guys who live in the States, but you're not going to see Greece in the World Cup of 2026, unfortunately.
Well, the thing about me and Poyet, though, is that before Poyet's arrival, during the John Van Schip era, during Angelos Anastasiadis, we saw some really, really sorry defeats against the likes of Armenia, against Georgia again. We saw so many derbies against Kosovo.
We drew against
Georgia. Never been Kosovo.
Yeah,
Still, though, poor results. Poor. Yeah, I think we lost that. Didn't we lose away in Tbilisi?
No, we drew 1-1. We drew 1-1 at home, but we beat them 2-0 away, I think, with 90-minute penalty and then a 92nd minute winner. Yeah, something like that. I don't think we've ever lost to them.
I remember all those. I remember all those derbies with Kosovo, though, under JVS, and we also had a really easy Nations League under JVS, the one with Slovenia, where we didn't beat them, and we were talking about how good the goalkeeper was, Jan Oblak, how good Jan Oblak was. But then Poyet came on, and yes, we didn't beat any of the big teams. We did put together a good performance against France, whom we drew in a match that obviously, France weren't too bothered about it, but we still got a point out of this match. We won all of the matches that we should have. We won the Nations League. And you've already touched on this, guys. It's not going to get any easier going forward. So is this really the moment to start rebuilding, or shall we just build on what we already have? Yeah, sure, there are some players that, in my opinion as well, shouldn't be there, or at least they shouldn't be starters, like Urbelis, like Madalos. We need to bring in some younger talent. We need to stop axing players for ridiculous reasons. But the guy did what he had to do in terms of the must-win matches. The Georgia game was an exception to the rule. He won all of the other big matches, didn't get anything from the big ones. It's only going to get harder right now. We got England in the Nations League, so there's no way we're going to be promoted to the to Group A. From then on, we have to finish second to hope for a playoff spot, considering that England are almost definitely going to finish first in their own group. So it's like someone told me, a businessman once told me, never fire someone unless you got someone ready to take over right now, and someone who's good at this spot, at this position. It seems like the reason Poyet would not get a new contract was because Fernando Santos was sacked as the Poland manager, and EPO were hoping that he was going to come back and jump for the opportunity to retake his position in Greece. But now he's with Besiktas. So Poyet leaves. Who's next? Who's going to join us next? People are mentioning Ivan Jovanovic. Just because you want Jovanovic doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Who's next? Who's going to replace Poyet? Is it time for yet another rebuild right now? Because at the end of the day, there is a camaraderie between those players. It's definitely not because of Yorgos Zavelas, Ari, but there is a camaraderie between this new group of players. So I don't think, just because he didn't make it to Euro 2024, which he should have, because he talked about lack of luck. He said that there was bad luck. Well, yeah, we got France and the Netherlands in the group stage, but the Nations League was easy. The playoffs were easy. Come on. Georgia was not some beast, was not some giant in front of you. You should have eliminated them. You should have played at least better in this match. I'm not convinced that Gus Poyet should be sacked.
But Costa, one thing just to touch upon something. You asked, is it time for a rebuild? I thought this was the rebuild. This is the problem.
And we saw the
rebuild.
We saw the results, though. Much different than JVS. Much different than Anastasiadis. Much different than Ranieri.
I'm saying regarding the players that are in. The players like Socrates, Fortounis, they're out. right? This is the rebuild the team. This is theoretically the guys that weren't the big names who have come in, like the rookies, and are part of the rebuild. But right now we're looking like the Brooklyn Nets, who have they're like 11th seed in the East. They can't make the play-ins, and they have no picks coming up. Like literally, like what? At least if you said to me, okay, get rid of all of these guys and bring in the young guys, and it's okay, we'll wait a few years. But literally, that's what I thought we've been doing. This is the disappointing thing. I thought literally this was the rebuild, but you can't rebuild on the rebuild. That's just ridiculous.
That's what I mean.
So what? These past 10 years have been a complete waste of time. Like might as well just have not played. What's the difference? Do you know what I mean? That's what my issue with the whole rebuild situation is, because this was meant to be the fucking rebuild. Like if you're going to get rid of players like Papastathopoulos to have the young guys play, fair enough, okay, but like you can't then go, okay, it's time for them to go and let's bring new guys in. But like this is my issue with it. It's like, who do we have to bring in? It's like the manager. If they go, who comes in as well?
Here's also what's preventing me. Like this is what's preventing me personally from wanting to keep him, right? If we keep him, do you think any of these results are going to prevent him from making the mistakes that he has? No, because he's stuck with the exact same lineup from Kazakhstan, thinking that was going to do what he did versus Kazakhstan, knowing that Georgia's a better team. Do we really think that if we keep Poyet, he's not going to make the same mistakes that he's been making? He's going to be stubborn. He's going to continue taking the same players. I don't trust that Poyet is going to change his modus operandi. I don't trust that he's going to change anything. So that's why I could care less whether he stays or goes, personally, because I don't believe that he's capable of learning from his mistakes. I think he will continue to make this. If he were to be kept on, I think we see the same players called up. Like by all rights, can you think of a coach? You know what? Maybe that's a bad example because Rahaigo also called up players that weren't playing too. But you look at all the players that he called up that were not in form or were not playing. Pelkas, right? I mean, for Christ's sake, he called Savelas. I mean, he called Korbelis. How much has Korbelis played? 45 minutes, or I think it was like 70 minutes for his club in the new year. Kazidiakos. I mean, what it worked against Kazakhstan because we literally were playing against shepherds and sheep farmers. So what coach in his right mind is like, I need to take this guy? We had the same comments when JVS was calling up Stafilidis, another loser that should never have been part of the national team. We have losers with loser mentality here. And you're picking players that aren't playing at all. I know that we have thin pickings, especially at the wing position, but come on.
When it comes to center back partnership, though, sorry, Ari, I remember Retsos and Mavropanos against the Netherlands in Amsterdam, and they were terrible. So you're not playing Hadzidiakos. Who would you want to start? I suppose with Mavropanos. Kouliarakis?
I would have preferred Kouliarakis, but but was he injured? I don't remember if that was the case. Was he injured?
He was on the bench, and he warmed up when was it Hadzidiakos who had an issue? Yes. I think when Mavropanos was having an issue, Retsos and Kouliarakis were warming up. So yes, he was on the bench.
Yeah. Okay. So then the discussion there would be, okay, we don't have a lot of options. Which, okay, you're right. If he was healthy, I would have preferred Kouliarakis, but you know what, Costa? You could have had another option on the bench for center back. If you didn't pick the loser that is Yoris Savelas. If he wasn't wasting space on your bench, you could have picked another center back.
He was not on the squad tonight, though, Zavelas. He was only he wasn't present on the bench.
For the choice of the squad, if injuries are a concern, you could have had another option to pick from, but you had Zavelas there, which is never going to play. Locker room presence. And what did Zavelas call the Aris players after
Skulikia.
That was it. Skulikia. This is a guy that called players after the murder of one of their fans, Skulikia. This is what he did to them after one of their fans was loser. He's a loser. He's an idiot. And that prevented you from having another option because you had this clown on the team. But that's, again, I know that's I don't trust Poyet to not continue to make that mistake. I don't trust him to do that. So if I can't trust him to do that, I don't care if he's the coach or not. Period.
I'm personally
I don't think
tired.
our defense is the problem.
Sorry,
Though.
Dimitri. Go ahead, Dimitri.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. I think my Wi-Fi is cutting in and out. What I'm saying is that I don't think defensively was our problem. So I understand all the issues with Zavelas and talking about best partnership at centre back, but our problem is very clearly creativity, which has always been an issue for the Greek national team.
Right.
We've always been just a struggle to watch offensively. Like, it's just painful. Like, we are a very ugly team to watch, and we always have been. Even in Euro 2004 when we won it, we didn't play good football. It wasn't pretty, right? It's never been pretty. However, we are really struggling offensively. Like, there is very, very little. I don't know, because it's not necessarily the players that are bad. It's just what do they coach them? Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't look like they're playing on the same team a lot of the time. Like, there's just no fluidity in their play. No teamwork, knowing, well, one guy is there, the other guy's going to be there. There was one really, really nice one where Ioannidis flicked on the header for Masouras, but he was a tiny bit offside. And I was like, fuck, great link-up play. Obviously, he was offside, so it ruined it. But he was just like an inch or something. And I was like, oh my God, that's the first time. The striker's got the header, the winger's run onto it. Like, look at it. Brilliant. Basic stuff. But no, we don't do that, I don't think, enough. And then you see Kostadelias comes on and he fucking destroys their left back, right back, whoever he was playing against, their right back, because he was on the left. Yeah. And he's just going past, like, slaloming in and out. Or you see the amount of times that Rota was going up. I thought Rota was great the minute he came on. I thought he was miles better than Baldock. I don't know if I'm going to get rinsed for that. I saw a couple of people talking shit about him. But I thought he was great. And how well he was playing with Masouras. They had a really good communication, I thought. That the overlaps, and he kept trying to get through. He had a couple of times that he was through. But again, they were trying to cross it in. There was no one in the box. Like, what are they working offensively on? Do you know what I mean? That teamwork up front, it's just individual skill that was getting us in that position. Or Masouras and Rota sort of teaming up well together. But like, Kostadelias was doing it all on his own on the left wing. No one was there. And the ball was sort of coming outside the box. And Bakasetas was fucking taking 3 hours to shoot and getting the ball picked off him. Like, that's my problem. I think offensively, it's just, it's like a bunch of schoolboys. There's just no organization, no tactics. So I don't actually think that defensively there's much to chat about. I thought it was fine.
No, I don't disagree.
Opinion,
I don't disagree with you. I was just pointing out, like, that's an example. That was just an example of that. But no, I agree with you. I agree with you 100% there. But then Dimitri, that makes it equally unacceptable that, especially through qualifying and through Nations League and periods of where we're having such difficulty offensively, that we're not giving minutes to guys like Kostadelias, who have that ability to do something offensively, or guys like Chrysotsolis. So this, again, just continues to reinforce my point that Poyet, I don't trust him to make these decisions to adapt. Because has he adapted? Has Poyet really adapted since he's been here? No, he has not. He has succeeded in many respects, but the core problems have still existed. And he has succeeded despite those issues and these mistakes. And for me, sure, we were living good times because we were actually winning. We won the Nations League. There was a shot for us to have qualification, but when it came down to it, we could not beat teams at our level or better, period. So that's what you have to weigh is, do you believe that there's enough in Poyet to improve what we have not seen much improvement in since he's been here, or do you not? And I do not. That and sure, we haven't had a coach that could consistently beat the teams we're supposed to beat. That's why we have losses against Faroe Islands, draws against Georgia. Well, I shouldn't use that one, but you know what I mean. Draws against Kosovo, draws against Moldova. But how can I look at him straight in the face when he's just exiling our best offensive players or not playing our best offensive players consistently? And then we look at how crappy our offense is and we wonder what's going on. These questions get asked when you fail. Deservedly so. And he failed. And this is a question that we deserve to ask. I don't believe he can improve on this, which is why I don't care if he leaves. Personally. And this is the point that I'm making. I don't see how this
you've kind of persuaded me. You've kind of persuaded me on that.
So
I don't know. I'm cutting out. I just wanted to say that I agree with you, Adi. The way you phrased that, you've sort of converted me.
Yeah,
On
and
that.
I could be wrong. You know what I mean? I accept that. I accept the fact that I could be wrong on this. Maybe I'm being a Costa. Maybe I'm being like an entitled Greek fan that's living too much in what happened in 2004. But that's how I see it, unfortunately.
Well, like I said, I think Aris is making some great points when it comes to Gus Poyet. Again, what I am going to say, which I know the comment section is also going to hate, is that when you fire someone, you need to make sure you got someone ready to come in and who's going to do a better job than the one you got right now. Like I said, Gus Poyet won the Nations League. He created a team that consistently won the matches they should have. We saw almost nothing against the big clubs. I will keep that France game, though, because I think it did show a lot of potential, that game with the draw in Sofia. And I'm going to insist, what happened with Georgia was the exception to the rule of Poyet. Obviously, if we had Poland, I believe we would have lost that game. There would be no penalties or extra time. We would have lost against a team like Poland, maybe even a team like Wales. But with Georgia, it was the kind of team you would have expected Poyet to have beaten. In my opinion, the jury is out on this one. But if he stays, obviously, we're going to want to see some much better results and much quicker. Questions need to be asked by EPO if they actually care about the Ethniki, which is a big if. If they do care about the Ethniki, those questions about all those players' emissions, all those player axing, they need to be asked. I would like to ask you a couple of questions about two players. I feel like two major players didn't show up tonight when they should have showed up. One of them is Kostas Tsimikas. We're an Olympiacos podcast, and I don't want anyone to think that we're just, crapping all over the non-Olympiacos players. Kostas Tsimikas was a disappointment for me tonight, and I blame that on something that I have blamed it on for so many years in this podcast. The lack of minutes at Liverpool, the lack of consistency at Liverpool. The guy is Andy Robertson's replacement. And he signed a new deal with Liverpool, which means he's going to stay longer at Anfield. It's great to have a Greek player at Liverpool, or at least it is for now, because next season is going to be a completely different story under Jurgen Klopp, probably. There's a good chance of that happening. We saw it at Arsenal. We saw it at Man United. And the lack of consistency, in my opinion, because we know how good Tsimikas is. We know that Tsimikas could start for most Premier League clubs right now. I feel like it's really hurting him, and it's really hurting the Greek national team, because a player of his caliber, his talent, his runs, his balls, his crosses, his passing, his defending, his marking, we're not seeing it in Greece because he's not playing often. That's one player. The other one is Tassos Bakasetas, who is supposed to be our best player, according to some, and he's our captain. He went completely AWOL tonight. We saw nothing from Bakasetas. He would not win his duels. Sometimes he would lose the ball. Sometimes his passing would be off, and he missed his penalty. And if there's one thing that Bakasetas is really good in Greece, is his penalty taking. And after that penalty that he missed, we saw it seemed like his teammates' legs were chopped off after that. You could see it in the body language. It's like they didn't believe it compared to the Georgians who were just pushing. Come on, we got this. We didn't see anything from Bakasetas tonight, which, in my opinion, I'm in a position right now where I'm going to say it. Don't ever tell me Bakasetas is the best Greek player, especially when Masouras has contributed so many goals and assists in the last few games throughout the qualifying phase. And don't you ever tell me that Bakasetas is better than Fortounis, when Fortounis, although not the kind of Abraham Lincoln leader you would expect him to be, his goals and assists shows what kind of leader he is on the pitch. If Olympiacos didn't have Fortounis this season, in the beginning, when no one did anything other than Fortounis, right now we would not be in the title race, and we would certainly not be in Europe without Kostas Fortounis and his goals as well as his assists. What's your opinion about Tsimikas and Bakasetas?
Well, real quick, Costa, was that media that was saying Bakasetas was Greece's best player?
Not media, certain media who are affiliated with, have certain affiliations.
Certain media. Okay, well, Costa, before I answer that, we have another audience record. We broke another audience record tonight. There's over 380 people listening to us actively, which is, again, another record that we've broken within 10 days of the last time. So just goes to show how much the community is growing. At one point, it was close to 390 people. So new record here. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, don't forget, like and subscribe. I only saw 24 likes last I checked, and there's almost 400 people in here. That's unacceptable. Really quickly, go in and like. If you're watching on Twitter, click through into the YouTube link, hit the like button, subscribe. You get better engagement and better interactions. Also, you can get better reminders through YouTube. We really encourage you to do that because it's a better way for you to connect with us. Now, answering your question, Costa, whoever told you or whoever said that Bakasetas is the best player on the national team, quite frankly, is an idiot. Right now, Yorgos Masouras is the best player on the national team. Leads us in goal contributions. Leads the national team in goal contributions. All non-penalty, by the way. Bakasetas has penalties for half of his goal contributions. So I never want to hear Bakasetas is the best player on the national team. Is he a good leader? I believe that. Every coach makes him the captain. So that gives me something there. I think he's a competent passer. He's got a cannon of a left foot, which I do respect, but he's not the best player on the national team. He has limits to his footballing ability. He does not have creativity. He does not have vision. But Bakasetas has been untouchable under the last two coaches we've had. So, and you saw the limit. You saw the limits of Bakasetas today. You saw his limits, and unfortunately, that's it. So, I have half a mind to just say, let's move on from the failed generation of players, the Kubelises, the Madaloses, the Bakasetas, that generation out. Pelkas out. Get them out, and let's build from new. I'd rather fail with new potential and build something from there than stick with what's been failing, because the mentality's gone. These guys, all they know is loss. All they know is loss. All they know is failure. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. And so get him out. I could understand keeping Bakasetas as a veteran presence, especially because I do think in the grand scheme of things, he's a very competent footballer. So I don't want it to come across that I think he's the worst player I've ever seen. That's far from the truth. But he's not the best player on Greece right now. The best player for the Greek national team through qualification is Yorgos Masouras. And we keep players like that who have that mentality, who are going to work their asses off, and who are going to get things done. Not the idiots that we seem to want to build a core around that haven't won anything. So I'll leave it on that note. And it's just unfortunate that we're now going to go probably 12 years now without a major tournament qualification. And it's sad. So I'll leave you guys with that and enjoy the rest of the show.
Take care, Adi. Thank you so much for joining us, as always. And Aris Boulbas is, in my opinion, the heart and soul of Gate 7 International. And now I'm going to another one of my faves in this show. Dimitri, tell me, what do you think about Bakasetas and Tsimikas' performance tonight?
I'm going to leave Bakasetas because Ari said everything there is to be said, and I don't want this to be just keep saying the same thing and rambling on. I'm going to touch on Tsimikas because as an Olympiacos and a Liverpool fan, Tsimikas has a special place in my heart, and I think I've seen probably more than any of us ever have of Tsimikas playing football. So my opinion on Tsimikas, he was shite today, arguably our worst player. Arguably his worst game I've seen in a Greek shirt too. I thought he was really, really, really bad. Now, this is what you said regarding his playing time is literally the reason why. And let me explain. Let me go into a bit more detail regarding that. So Tsimikas is obviously Robertson's left back, and Robertson obviously is the main left back for Liverpool. He's Tsimikas is the backup. Everyone knows this. Tsimikas knew this. But it's well known. Now, Tsimikas, when he comes on and plays an odd game for Liverpool, tends to play shit. He'll come on once every 6 games, play a European game, play a cup game, get subbed off at 60th minute. It tends to be quite shit because he's playing very odd. Like, he plays an odd game. And when he comes on for 5-10 minutes as a sub, he's fine. But when he starts a game and he hasn't started a game in a month, he's shit. Now, Tsimikas had an extraordinary good run of form around December, November time, where Robertson got injured on international duty.
Robertson is injured, yeah. Shoulder injury, yeah.
Robertson gets injured. His shoulder, yeah, he gets injured with Scotland. Tsimikas is wank for the first 1 or 2 games, actually wank, and people are saying drop him for like, who are they trying to drop him for? Luke Chambers? I don't know. This was before Joe Gomez was playing left back. This was before Joe Gomez was playing everything. And people were like, just put the 19-year-olds in, put the 18-year-olds in. Tsimikas is wank. After 2 or 3 games, he starts getting a lot better. And I mean a lot better. And he's putting some MVP performances in. And he is being really, really, really good. And then the game against Arsenal comes. And he gets injured. That's the 1-1 game at Anfield when I think it was Bukayo Saka sort of drags him down, pulls him, and basically
broke his collarbone.
Fucks up his shoulder. Tsimikas is injured. Yep, collarbone. Yep. Tsimikas is injured. He's out for 2-3 months. And this is when Tsimikas was on a great run of form. He was really, really good. He'd played about 6, 7, 8 games on the bounce. Robertson's injured. He's going to be out for another 1-2 months. Tsimikas is playing really, really, really well. Boom. Injured. Out. Gomez takes his spot. Gomez is playing really well at left back. Robertson comes back from injury before Tsimikas comes back from injury. So now Robertson and Gomez are fighting for that spot. Robertson eventually takes it back because Gomez is playing right back, centre back, number 6. Gomez playing everywhere. So Robertson slots in left back. Tsimikas comes back from his injury. Can't get into the team. Plays 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Plays a European game. Is a bit shit. Plays a cup game. Is a bit shit. Has a really good cameo in the League Cup final where he gets the assist for Van Dijk. But he's come on, at the start of extra time. So he's played 30 minutes there, but he's had a good cameo. He's got the assist. He's good, but he's not playing consistently. Since his injury, he has not played consistently for Liverpool. When he was playing consistently for Liverpool, after 2 or 3 games, he was great. So this is the problem Tsimikas has. It's not a quality thing. It's what you said. It's a lack of minutes. And even if he does play a bit for Liverpool here and there, it's not consistently. And that's a problem. And that will harm his career. And it's painful because as a Liverpool fan, I want someone as good as Tsimikas as a backup. Of course I do. And it's amazing seeing an Olympiacos player play for Liverpool, like a Greek Olympiacos player play for Liverpool. He's playing for both of my teams. This is amazing. Like, he's my favorite player. He's one of my favorite players ever. However, for his career, it's harming him if he's not playing consistently. And it's painful because that injury fucked him. It really did fuck him because he had another at least 2 months of consistently playing because Robertson was out. And he was so good. So yeah, that's my 2 cents with Tsimikas. He was shit today, and it's because of what you said, lack of consistency and that fucking injury. As simple as that. And I don't know if that means he has to leave Liverpool, but he's happy. He's happy at Liverpool. He's playing for a championship-winning team that wins titles. He's playing for arguably one of the best coaches of all time. Yes, he's going to leave, but hopefully they bring in someone who's really, really good and works well. And this is the thing. It's tricky to leave such a huge team, even if you're not getting the minutes, when you've come from something like Olympiacos. Like, he hasn't come from Barcelona. He's come from a small team, theoretically, like a Greek
relatively
team.
small,
He's
yeah.
only playing for one of the biggest teams. It's tricky. It's tricky to then go and leave. Do you know what I mean? And it's not like he's not playing at all. He is playing here and there. It's just not consistently, and that's what's harming him. And then I see comments like this: why didn't he go to Leicester? I mean, come on, Liverpool were calling. Like, I know I'm a Liverpool fan, but like,
of course you wouldn't go to Leicester.
You go to Liverpool.
Of course you wouldn't go to Leicester.
It's like, why would? But it's the same question as why did Sasha Vezenkov go to the NBA? He's not playing any minutes because it's the fucking NBA. Like, you have to go. You have to give it a shot. And Tsimikas, in his defense, it has worked out for him in the long span of things. Like, he's won 3 trophies. He had the game-winning penalty in the FA Cup. He's played in a Champions League final. Did he play? Did he come on? I don't remember. But he's had title.
He didn't come on.
Premier League winning seasons, missing out by 1 point. Again, he's in another Premier League chasing season. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, in the long run of things, it's worked for him. But when he comes to play for Greece, because of his lack of consistency, he'll have some shit games. And today was fucking shite. Basically, that's what it is. Well, and this question: why don't you come back? Don't you want to come back? He's too young to come back.
It's not the time. Not the time, guys.
If he leaves Liverpool, I can't see him coming back to Greece just yet. He has to be in his 30s for that to happen. He is going to stay in the Prem and play for a smaller team, or go somewhere else in Europe. He's too good for the Greek league. He's a great player. It's just that the lack of consistency made him seem shit today. And he was shit, don't get me wrong. Κώστα, άμα το βλέπεις, συγγνώμη, αλλά you a fucking wank. It is what it is.
Well, we do have 409 people right now watching live, so you never know.
Another
But I think that it is another record, yet another record for the podcast. Well, I would like to wrap it up, wrap up the Ethniki, because we're well over an hour here, almost an hour and a half here, actually. But the headline is this, guys. Greece missed a huge opportunity to make it to the finals of a European competition for the first time in 10 years. It's hard to believe that it's going to get any easier than it was this time around, with an easy Nations League group, coupled with, admittedly, a very tough Euro 2024 group, qualifying group, but then a very easy road through the playoffs. Again, like I said, we didn't get Wales, we didn't get Poland, we didn't get Ukraine. Even at wartime, the Ukrainians, guys, they are tigers, they are lions. But we missed a huge opportunity.
They won today. They qualified.
I was sure
Ukraine won today.
Sure
they beat
would.
Iceland 2-1.
I was sure they would. Like I said, the Ukrainians are lions. The question now is, when will this opportunity arrive again? Like we said, we got England in the Nations League. We're not going to win that group. We could finish second. We got Finland and the Republic of Ireland in the same group. We could finish second and hope we could take the ticket as second place from there. We don't know what kind of group we're going to have for the World Cup. The World Cup is much harder, guys. Much harder, because you got to finish second in your group as well. Huge missed opportunity right here. I totally agree with you with the loser mentality. The Greek national team is inundated after all those player acts, after all that axing, all that sacking in the Greek national team. We are inundated with players that have either never won a Champions League match or have never played in the Champions League right now. And that is an issue with the philosophy. There's an issue with the philosophy. There's an issue with the mentality. There's an issue with the experience right there. So you asked me, Dimitri, why another rebuild? Well, we need players who know how to play in the grand stage and know how to win in the grand stage. Petros Mandalos doesn't know about that. Tassos Bakasetas doesn't know about that. Kourbelis doesn't know about that. So, well, you need to bring in younger players who play for their clubs in the grand stage in Europe, win games, win big games, like Olympiacos have been doing, like PAOK have been doing recently, like Panathinaikos used to do back in the day. That's what I think we need right now. So there's the rebuild. There's the answer to your rebuild, Dimitri.
You're right. Can we move on now, though? Because I'm drained from Ethniki. I think it's one of those things that a lot of us are very upset about tonight. It's going to take a lot to get through it. It's disappointing.
Well, then let me ask you this then, Dimitri. How drained do you think you're going to feel on Sunday after this? OPAP Arena, this Sunday. AEK Olympiacos.
Costa, I think my Wi-Fi cut out. I didn't hear that. Can you say that all again? My Wi-Fi cut out, so I didn't hear anything.
It was such a good transition. It was such a good transition. I didn't say anything. I only said OPAP Arena. Oh, Dimitri. Oh, Dimitri. Oh, no,
Dimitri. Hit me. Come on. What did you say? Dimitri.
Dimitri. AEK next. In a match, mind you, in a match that if Olympiacos lose, well, that's pretty much bye-bye Greek title. But if we win at OPAP Arena, where AEK, they haven't lost this season in the league. They've lost in Europe. They haven't lost in the league. Still, if we beat them, there's that fuel or that hopefully is not going to be another dose of false hope. And I think we lost Dimitri again. Well, until Dimitris comes back, they lost to Offices Achilles Bears. Well, still though, the Olympiacos are facing a huge challenge ahead of them right now this Sunday. Dimitris is back. Olympiacos are facing a huge challenge this Sunday at OPAP Arena. A loss will pretty much spell the end of any title hopes, with Olympiacos being 8 points away from the top, if I'm not mistaken. If they lose, but if they win, they're back again at it. with a lot of fuel, a lot of motivation, a lot of momentum right there for Olympiacos. It's a huge game. It's going to be very interesting to see how we juggle the Europa Conference League, considering Jose Luis Mendilibar is very much focused on this. That is the only reason he joined Olympiacos at such short notice. We do know Zelson Martins is going to be out, so Thrylos Alexandropoulos, we suppose, is going to be out as well. After the international break, it's going to be very interesting to see at what kind of physical condition the players are going to be in. We're not privy to any new injury updates. Very interesting to see how the AEK players, especially the ones who played for Greece, are going to be at. Dimitri, how do you see this match panning out?
If you'd asked me before the Maccabi 6-1 game, you would have got a very different reply to this one. Look, I think if I had to put a bet on, I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I'm a lot more confident than I would have been a few weeks ago. My internet's gone, hasn't it?
You're back. Go on.
Fuck me. You can't hear me, can you? I don't know why my internet's being bad.
By the way, Achillea, they lost to Ofi, but they lost away. We're talking about them losing at OPAP Arena in the league. They haven't lost yet in the league.
Also, can we just have a quick shout out to the fact that his name's Achilleas Bills?
Well, we've had Achilleas on the show for a very long time.
Oh, okay, that's brilliant.
He's a very loyal and good, very loyal, and one of our most loyal fans. And thank you for joining us, Achillea.
So what I was saying is I'm a lot more confident than I was a few weeks ago, than I would have been a few weeks ago. Obviously, because of the result against Maccabi. So I think the players will be flying when it comes down to confidence. I actually think that the international break came at a really bad time for us because the 6-1 win was incredible. So we should be riding a high. Now, when it comes down to it, the fact that the only Olympiacos player that played in the national team and played a lot was Masouras, whereas AEK had a lot more players that were playing, is, I think, going to work in our favor. Masouras doesn't get that many minutes from Mendilibar as he used to do. He's not a starter from what we've seen so far. So I have a feeling we're going to be a lot fresher than they are. And I think with as I said, the results of the Maccabi game, I think we're going to go in and we're going to go at them from the get-go. My only worry is if we don't score quickly and the tempo sort of dies down and the fans get into it, and then I'm just worried we might end up sort of getting sucked into a slower game playing their style of play. So I think we really need to go in and sort of get at them, just like Greece did with Kazakhstan last week. Get a quick goal and sort of dominate. And if we do that, I think we're going to win. I think we're. I'm a lot more confident. I'm a lot more confident than I would have been a couple of weeks ago.
Well, like we said, Olympiacos are not facing any new injury problems. They don't have any serious injury problems heading into this match. I think just like in every game against Matias Almeida's AEK, I think there are two things Olympiacos need to be extremely careful of. One is the midfield. Jose Luis Mendilibar needs to stick with the 4-3-3 formation, start three midfielders in there. Andre Horta, Santiago Eze, Chiquinho sounds like the perfect trio to take on AEK's famous diamond formation. And number two, it's the referees. And I think it's extremely important for Olympiacos to be prepared for a few dodgy calls, like the ones we saw in the last two games at Karaiskaki, both of which we lost. So it's important not to get carried away. Always keep a clear head, no matter what you see, no matter what happens in there. A quick goal could be good, but I think at the end of the day, it's all about the midfield battles. Whoever wins the midfield battle wins the game. We saw it against Brighton. AEK had an amazing first half, absolutely obliterated Brighton in the midfield. They couldn't score a goal because they couldn't hit the net. They just couldn't hit the net. But then in the second half, Brighton learned the lesson. So it's all about the midfield and all about keeping a clear head throughout the game. Anything other than a victory, in my opinion, pretty much spells the end of any title hopes. And I feel like linking it now with the Ethniki, which, this is the only time I'm going to talk about the Ethniki as we head to the end of this episode. I think the Ethniki are proving that there is a serious lack of talent in Greece, at least from Greek players who are playing in Greece. So in my opinion, there is no more excuse for Olympiacos not to win the title next season in a milestone year of 100 years of Olympiacos' existence. Next year, in my opinion, no more excuses. You cannot lose the title to Bakasetas. You cannot lose the title to Mandalos. You need to bring it next year. I said it in my most recent analysis of the Maccabi Tel Aviv game. The core is there. You have a core of players that can lead you to the next few years at Olympiacos. They're in very good shape. They're in very good age. I'm talking about the likes of Zoulakis, Fortounis, Orta, Chiquinho, Eze, Ortega, El Kabi, and then you have the youngsters from the B team, the ones that could win the UEFA Youth League this season. You got your Kostoulas brothers, you got your Papakanelos, your Mouzakitis, your Koutsidis, you got Nabi Keita, who's a very good player. All you got to do is keep that core of players, promote those youngsters, and in my opinion, sign a Carmo-esque center back and a Jan Envila-esque number 6. All you need. And Podence, obviously, keep Podence. Yeah, I forgot to mention Podence. Thanks, Nico.
Just a couple of things to touch upon that you just said. I don't think that it's end of the league if we don't win, because I have a feeling the others will take points off each other.
What if we lose?
But I do agree that there is no excuse. If we lose, yeah, problematic. But if we draw, I don't think it's the end of the league. I completely agree. No excuse to be losing the league to fucking Bakasetas and Mandalos, especially Mandalos. Like, my God, fucking donkey. So I'm fully with you on that. Fully agree with the signings that need to, like, how to move the team forward. And completely agree with the midfield. But it's the same thing that we said all the way back in October, November. When was the West Ham game? And then was it Panathinaikos game? Was it the AEK game? Where he played 3 in, he was playing Martinez was playing 3 in midfield. At the time, and we were like, this is how we need to play those big games. We can't get overrun in midfield. And I think he played 3 in midfield against AEK, the 1-1 draw that we had, where we should have really won, but it seemed as if he sort of took the foot off the pedal because he was thinking about Freiburg.
That was in September.
That we ultimately lost 3-2. That was September, yeah. But even back then, I remember thinking this is how we need to be playing in midfield. In the West Ham game and then Panathinaikos on the AEK game. Just complete blast from the past. When you were talking about the dodgy decisions, was it against AEK? I'm back. I'm back. Am I back?
Yes, you are.
I'm back.
Yes, you are.
I'm not back. I am back. Okay. Yes. See, this is annoying because my Wi-Fi on my laptop is saying it's great. This is pissing me off. You were saying the dodgy decisions. Was it against AEK that we had the Masuras, that they called a handball on Masuras? On
yes,
that
that's
incredible
AEK.
control. And was that the game? Was that the game?
Yes.
Did they call offside?
Yes.
Did they call handball? I don't remember what they fucking called. Oh my God, that's pissed me off now. I've completely forgotten about that. Completely wiped from my memory how they didn't count that goal. Fuck, that's infuriating. Holy shit. Yeah, sorry, just wanted to leave it with that I'd completely forgotten about that. And now you brought it back when you started talking about dodgy decisions. Great. Thanks for that, bro.
Well, I'm gonna be bringing you some better memories, right? I'm gonna bring up some much better memories because we got the Europa Conference League dream that continues for Olympiacos. Obviously, we got Fenerbahce next, whom we are going to face on April 11. That's still a while later. We got Aris on April 3 at Karaiskaki, and then we're facing Lamia away on April 7, and then it's the first game against Fenerbahce on April 11. We know Daniel Podence will be unavailable due to a yellow card, due to a mass yellow card accumulations. It's still a while away, But it is extremely important to remind everyone that Olympiacos have made the quarterfinal stage of a major European competition for the first time since 1999 after an incredible win over Maccabi Tel Aviv. In my opinion, Olympiacos have no reason not to hope to make it to the final at OPAP Arena. This is a tournament. Anything can happen. Aston Villa / Lille in the semifinals if Olympiacos make it through. Villa, in my opinion, will have to make a very serious decision. Do they want to focus on the conference, and which means they're going to play in the Europa League next season, or do they want to concentrate on a top 4 / top 5 finish if they're lucky with a coefficient and play in the Champions League? Obviously, Fenerbahce are first. When Greek teams are playing Turkish clubs, especially with the second and crucial match taking place in Turkey, it's going to be a really, really hard affair. Some really good players, very experienced stars playing for Fenerbahce. In no way Olympiacos should be feeling like the favorites. It shouldn't be feeling like the underdogs, but they are certainly not the favorites. And I guess my question to you, Dimitri, is how do you, at this stage, especially when Olympiacos are not used to it, the Olympiacos are certainly not used to fighting, scratching and clawing for the league, and at the same time juggling the quarterfinals of a European competition. If you're Jose Luis Mendilibar, how do you juggle this?
How do you juggle this? I try and make history. I prioritize the Conference League. It's a win, and you get through this round, and it's in the history books. You've gone to the semi-final for the first time in Olympiacos history. It's quite simple, really. I obviously prioritize that. I play Pendense as much as possible before the game against Fenerbahce because he's going to be suspended for that game. So I play him in the big Greek league games. That one sort of forces my hand, makes it easier. And then I think the players are going to be, because of the way we won that game against Maccabi, I have a feeling they're going to go really pumped up and really go for it. Yes, Fenerbahce are not the Fenerbahce that they were a couple of years ago when we beat them 3-0 away and when we beat them with that Tiquinho goal in the final minutes at home. Yeah. However, they're not exactly Man City. They have some huge players, but they have players that are past their prime. They have a team full of Jovetiches, basically, in my opinion. They have a lot of players that have got massive names, but they're very much past their prime. You can't be telling me Edin Dzeko is still a prime striker. Incredible name and incredible what he's achieved in his career. Played for some big teams and scored some big goals, but he's well past it now. So, and who else they have? Like Fred, and did they have Bonucci or something like that?
Yes.
Someone said someone. Yeah, like, I mean, I'm sorry. These are huge names. These are Marcelo-like names. However, they're past their prime. So we have nothing to be afraid of. They're not Aston Villa, like 4th in the Premier League. They're 1st in the Turkish league. Yeah, fair enough. But then we shouldn't be go in there being scared. We shouldn't go in there thinking that we're favorites either. But I think I see that people are sort of agreeing with me. Better to prioritize Europe. Well, yeah. And this, yeah, Batshuayi and Tadic. Yeah, okay. Again, Tadic, is this the Tadic that used to play for Southampton?
Yes, and Ajax.
Is this the Tadic? Yeah, I mean, again, past it. Batshuayi, past it.
Long time
Fred.
ago.
Is this the Fred that used to play? Is this the Fred that used to play for United?
Man United, yes.
Yeah,
not the Lyon.
I mean, he was never in it. Yeah, this actually, he was never in it, let alone to have gone past it. So you know what I mean? These players, huge names, but they shouldn't. Our players shouldn't go in scared. And yeah, we should prioritize Europe. This comment made me laugh. Usually at this point, we're out of Europe and have already won the league. Yeah, pretty much. This is what we're used to. At this stage in the season, Olympiacos has nothing to play for because we've won the league by about 30 points and we've been out of Europe for 2 months because we usually go out of Europe after the first. If it's Champions League, we'll go out the groups or finish 3rd. If it's Europa League, we'll get past and we'll end up losing in the first round of the knockouts. Usually this is what happens. So yeah, I agree with this comment basically. But yeah, this is what if I was Mendilibar, I'd prioritize Europe big time. Chance to make history. Very simple. This is what I'd say to the players. Forget about everything else. You could literally be in the history books after this. Simple as that.
Well, I love the way you're thinking, Dimitri. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap this up. We are on the one and a
Ju-
half hour
Just
mark
before we
here.
wrap it up,
Go on, man.
just one quick thing before we wrap it up. I did want to wait until we were done with everything before I brought up this comment. Just to touch on basketball quickly, because someone asked, and there's a lot of rumors going around today. Yoros Munzanos brought this up earlier when I was talking about how Vishenkov and Chimikas basically used that. Is it 100% we're signing Keenan Evans? Basically, for those of you that don't know, earlier this morning, there was a lot of rumors that among the Greek media that Olympiacos has basically signed Keenan Evans from Zalgiris, that he's confirmed. However, our official basketball Instagram, like the club's Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, the social media, put out posts and stories saying that at this moment, the team's just focusing on the team and we're not talking about any signings and we haven't made any signings and forget about that. It's all bullcrap, basically. So the reports coming out of Greek media are theoretically believable and prestigious reports. They're not fake news. They're not the sort of people that just make shit up for no reason. However, the club officially has come out and said, we're not talking about signings. We're not focusing on that. We're literally just focusing on the season with the playoffs right around the corner and trying to get home court advantage. So that's where we are with Keenan Evans at the moment. And if we were to sign him, that would probably be a huge move because it would mean the end of either Kanan or Williams Goss, even though Williams Goss has a guaranteed contract for the season after, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's got a 2-year close contract, whereas Kanan is, I think his contract expires at the end of the season. So it would be interesting to see what happens. But at this moment in time, it is not 100% sure that we're signing Keenan Evans, and I'll leave it at that. We'll see what happens. But big game on Thursday against Partizan away from home. Very, very, very tough court to play at. Their fans are incredible, even though they're brothers with PAOK. I've got to give them my respect. They're incredible fans. Big game, big repercussions if we lose and bonuses if we win, basically. I didn't know. What's the opposite of repercussions? Basically, yeah, if we win, we're much closer to top 4. If we lose, it's basically top 4 goodbye and aiming for top 6 to make sure we don't have to go through the play-ins. But yeah, what is the opposite of repercussions? Benefits?
Well, profits, benefits. Well, Dimitri, we have hit the 1.5 hour mark, and we made a record today of 400
and another record,
viewers.
430.
5 viewers, 435 viewers. This has been an amazing episode, all things considered. Greece are out of Euro 2024, and it's really hard to imagine when Greece will be back in a major European competition after tonight, considering how competitive things are going to be in the 2026 World Cup. Dimitri, thank you so much for joining us, despite all the internet problems. Guys, if you haven't done so already, please do like and subscribe. There was 435 of you tonight. Please help us improve the algorithm. Spread the word. We are being followed by every corner of the world, every continent, bar Antarctica. Let's keep this family growing, and we got some amazing surprises for you down the road with some exclusive interviews. I cannot say more, but please do watch this space. Dimitri, any parting words?
Let's try and move on. I know a lot of us are upset with this result, but forget about Greece. Olympiacos Panapola. As always, Olympiacos above everything, for those of you that don't understand Greek. Big couple of weeks coming up, both for the football team and the basketball team. So we've got a lot to be excited about, and the future looks bright. And yeah, move past Greece. We'll see them in the nation. Next thing we've got to look forward to with Greece is the Nations League qualifiers in September, right? So yeah, forget about it for the moment. Try and get some sleep. I know, or have a good day if you're in Australia. I know it's tough, but we'll get past it. We've had worse, unfortunately. We really have. And if anyone's going to the game at Wembley in October against England, hit me up because I'll be there. Let's have a big Greek takeover of Wembley. Show them that football's truly coming home. Not like, but yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, that's it from me. Thanks all of you for watching. And I echo what Costa said. Like, Please like, subscribe. 435 again watching right now. Our record. Come on, guys.
We are Gate 7 International. Thank you for joining us, guys, and we will see you soon.